Hello, everybody, and welcome to the finals here at Grand Prix Dallas. I'm Gabby Sparks, joined by Luis Scott Vargas. Here we have Corey Burkhart playing at Grixis Control versus Kevin Mackie playing Skredret. This is the finals of the GP. Neither of us really expected to see a Skredret at all in this tournament, but here it is in the finals. Looks like Benes here wishing Corey good luck. They are teammates, part of CFB and Associates.
Indeed, and
CFB and Associate.
yes. Corey, in fact, does get to play first because he is the higher seed.
Mm-hmm. He locked that up by almost going, you know, he doesn't have he can no longer fulfill the dream of the 18-0. He actually took a draw.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to feel too bad if he goes 17-0
Obviously.
in one here.
All right, so clear with a couple lands, Kevin attempting to play Mind Stone, but that is going to meet a Spell Snare.
Spell Snare is one of those cards that if you can use it, you use it.
See, there you go. See, somebody for Team Skred over here.
Oh, I was looking at the chat. There's a lot of people on Team Skred. You know, I'm sure Corey's got his supporters here, but Team Skred is dominating the power rankings right now.
It's hard not to root for Skred, I'm telling you. Corey drawing that Ancestral Vision for the turn. It looks like he's going to suspend it. He would have liked to see that earlier in the game. Not too late, though.
And one thing to note here is that Corey used Thought Scour on himself, as the deck is designed to do, to fuel Tasigur and Snapcaster Mage. He milled a basic island. That's going to make his life a lot more difficult long-term if Blood Moon resolves, because Corey has exactly 3 islands. If he's going to cast Cryptic Command, he needs to have all 3 islands in play, and with the island milled, he can't have those in play against a Blood Moon.
Very good point. So here comes Polluted Delta. What if Corey has a Blood Moon in hand? It doesn't seem like he has one right now, but we do know that he has 4 in his deck.
Kevin hasn't actually gotten anything on the board, and this is one of the kinds of draws that suffers against a control deck with Lightning Bolt and Skred both in hand, and Corey presenting Ancestral Visions as his first threat, if you want to call it that.
Yeah. Also, Corey keenly aware of Blood Moon here because he's fetching Island, fetching Swamp, and he's trying to set up knowing that eventually a Blood Moon might resolve. Kevin following up with a Mountain. The snow cover type. All right, so this is the first threat coming down from Kevin. Pia and Kieran Nalar. Let's see what Corey has to say about Mom and Dad.
And unfortunately for Corey, he doesn't have a way to counter Pia and Kieran here. So he's going to be able to use his removal to make them less effective. But Snapcaster, Lightning Bolt, and Kolaghan's Command, those each pick off 1 to 2 cards, and it's going to be a little harder for Corey to get a 1-for-1 here. He's going to have to jump through some hoops. Yeah,
so he is going to go ahead and Kolaghan's Command to take down Mom and Dad and... Yeah, he's saying Mom and Dad, and it should be one of the Thopters, I believe is what he pointed at.
I think he made Kevin discard that Lightning Bolt, but
gotcha.
But there was some confusion as to whether Pia and Kieran Nalar was exiled or not. And so they were trying to straighten out where exactly that was supposed to go.
All right, so we're going to see an untap from Kevin.
And Corey can take damage from these Thopters.
Oh, he's drawn another one.
That's going to be tough. The second Pia and Kieran Nalar is a lot more threatening because those 2 Thopters are left over from the first one already. And even though Corey could outweight those with his Ancestral, it's going to be harder to outweight a second Pia and Kieran Nalar.
Yeah, here it comes. Another Pia and Kieran Nalar. This is a foil version, too. Let's see what Corey has to say about this. He has a couple burn spells to terminate. A Bolt, a Snapcaster Mage.
And without Cryptic Command, Corey doesn't have very many cards that can answer Pia and Kieran Nalar 1-for-1 because he's got Anger of the Gods in his sideboard. Game 1, he's going to have to play Snapcaster. What he really needs to find, actually, is an Engineered Explosives. That would be key here.
He has 1 in his main deck?
He has exactly 1, but an Explosives would kill all 4 Thopters. And those Thopters now represent a significant clock.
Yeah, these are chipping away for 4 a turn. Looks like Corey has drawn another Snapcaster Mage for his turn. He's just going to go ahead and pass. All right, so Thopter's getting in once more. This drops Corey down to 10. That Ancestral Vision also with one counter left. It will come off suspend, and possibly Corey finds an engineered explosives from that. He's going to opt to not cast anything this turn. Snapcaster Mage coming to the battlefield. Let's see what it flashes back.
And Corey can either bolt to slow down the clock, or he can flashback Thought Scour.
Yeah, so he did flashback that bolt and kill one of the Thopters. So Ancestral Vision here coming off of suspend. Let's see what Corey finds. 1, 2, 3. Another Snapcaster, Creeping Tarpet, another Ancestral Vision, and his draw for the turn is a Blood Crypt.
So no explosives on the horizon, but Kolagon's command can actually kill 2 of the Thopters. We almost saw that happen earlier because destroy target artifact and deal 2 damage to target creature or player. So if Corey wants to pay 2 life to Blood Crypt, he can leave up enough mana to go Snapcaster Kolagon's command.
All right, so Corey playing that Creeping Tarpet, attacking with a Snapcaster Mage. Let's see if Kevin wants to do anything about this. He is sitting pretty comfortably at 20. So he decides to fire off a bolt.
Might actually just be at Corey.
Yeah, it kind of looked like,
Oh,
no,
okay.
it is going to Snapcaster Mage. Okay.
Corey, I think, should be very happy about that. He wasn't realistically going to kill Kevin with that Snapcaster anyway, and that bolt represents almost a full turn off the clock depending on how the Thopters end up hitting. So I think I'm glad to trade Snapcaster for Lightning Bolt at that point.
Yeah, so Kevin back on his turn, attacking with the 3 Thopters, dropping Corey down to 7, and now a Batter Skull.
Well, the good thing for Corey, Kolagon's command matches up quite nicely against Batter Skull, but Corey's still under pressure from these 1/1s. He's going to have to start using cards on 1/1 Thopters.
All right, so he is going to be able to counter that with Counter Skull.
Yeah, I think that actually ends up working out best because now it lets him use his Kolagon command to kill 2 of the Thopters. Kind of interesting to see if Corey wants to pay life to play an untapped Blood Crypt in order to suspend Ancestral Vision as well, because it looks like Corey's got a pretty good chance of going Snapcaster Kolagon's command here to not die to these Thopters. The thing is, Kevin's only down to 2 cards, one of them Scred. If Corey can stabilize against these Thopters, then he's going to end up in a pretty good spot if the game goes long. I mean, those 2 Ancestral Visions eventually will come out, and if Corey can survive that long, he will presumably overwhelm Kevin with cards.
All right, so Corey playing that Blood Crypt tapped, taking no damage. He is at a precarious 7 life.
And so far we've seen Corey keep mana untapped and not play Snapcaster before Kevin attacks, but we'll see if Kevin attacks with these Thopters, whether Corey takes the damage here or opts to tap out.
Looks like he is opting to take the damage. All right, so let's see what Corey can do about this. 2 mana for Snapcaster, Kolagon's command. Choosing 2 modes, one to kill a Thopter and the other one to destroy an artifact. And down both go 2 Thopters.
And here's where Creeping Tarpet could also start becoming activated. This Grixis deck can turn from being controlling to being aggressive very quickly. When you have a Creeping Tarpet, a second Snapcaster Mage, all of a sudden you're attacking for 7 potentially, with Corey wanting to leave up Terminate and decide how many Ancestral Visions he wants to suspend as well. It's possible that Corey also doesn't want to suspend Visions at all. He might think that this game is going to be concluded one way or the other before Visions comes out, and he might want to leave up Terminate and then just not have to sacrifice Polluted Delta. Because attacking with Creeping Tarpet is definitely something he's interested in.
Yeah, and it looks like that is what he's going to do. So Creeping Tarpet animated, and in come Creeping Tarpet and 2 Snapcaster Mages. All right, and this drops Kevin down to 9.
And Kevin opting not to use Scred on any of the attacking creatures, instead ready to set up a Stormbreath Dragon and not worrying about the potential 3-turn clock that Corey has him under.
All right, so Kevin playing another land, you were saying?
I think this is going to work out pretty well for Corey because he's going to get to trade Terminate for Stormbreath, and here's where the difference between Terminate and Path really shows itself.
Yeah.
And then now, when Corey attacks, if he attacks with the 2 Snapcasters and the Creeping Tarpet again, Kevin's almost forced into using Scred. On the Tarpet.
All right, so yeah, the Terminate does take care of the Stormbreath Dragon. Corey gets to untap 2 Snapcaster Mages. Also, he's drawn a Bolt and the Creeping Tarpet. Animated.
So that Lightning Bolt means that if Kevin doesn't use this Scred on Creeping Tarpet fairly soon, then Corey is going to be able to steal a game with Lightning Bolt. And by leaving the Thopter back, Kevin also may be signifying his intent to block one of the Snapcasters.
Yeah, so it looks like before blocks, this Scred attempting to take down this creeping tar pit.
Kevin counting up, yeah, it deals 7.
It definitely deals. Oh, it is very dead. All right, so let's see if the Thopter is planning on blocking. All right, so the Thopter is not blocking.
So that drops Kevin to 5. It means either Snapcaster plus Bolt is lethal. If Kevin doesn't draw a Lightning Bolt of his own.
Oh, he drew an Anger of the Gods.
So that actually buys Kevin a turn here. Or more than that, it actually just kills all of Corey's threats because the tar pit's gone.
Yeah, the tar pit's gone.
So now Kevin can go Anger, wipe the board. But Corey's got the one who's got a difficult decision now. Corey's got a Lightning Bolt. If he bolts the Thopter, he doesn't have lethal next turn. But if he takes the damage and Kevin drew a Lightning Bolt, Corey dies. So this is a really tough decision.
All right, so yes,
this is the Lightning Bolt check. This is for sure that's what Corey's doing.
And there are not many bolts there.
Yeah, it looks like Kevin just used the one bolt. So did Kevin draw one of his 3 remaining Lightning Bolts? If he did, Corey dies if he takes the damage. If he didn't, Corey would much rather have Bolt in hand to threaten lethal with the Snapcaster Mages next turn.
All right, so tough decision here for Corey. We'll see what he ends up doing. It looks like pointing that bolt a lot of turns ago might have been a pretty big difference.
Yeah, Kevin would have been at many fewer life had he bolted, not bolted the Snapcaster, but he also would have potentially threatened lethal against Corey. So
Corey decided to go with a safe route there, bolted that Thopter, doesn't want to, has no interest in dying to a Lightning Bolt. Kevin does get to fire off that Anger of the Gods to clear out the board, and now both players are top decking. Ooh, scrying sheets.
All right, so this is interesting. So Corey's got these Ancestrals, and if one of the Ancestral Vision resolves, then I think Corey's going to be in very good shape. But Kevin with scrying sheets means he's less likely to draw lands, and that means that he is more likely to draw a spell, and a lot of his spells do finish the game here. Koth and Stormbreath Dragon among them.
So let's see what Kevin has drawn. This is a big draw set for...
If it costs 4 mana, this is bad for Corey.
Oh my gosh, it's a Chandra.
Oh, so that doesn't
Defiance?
quite end the game, but gets very, very close. Oh, wow.
Revealing an Eternal Scourge. And he's choosing to cast it. So how does Corey deal with an Eternal Scourge?
If Kevin leaves it exiled, he deals 2 damage, then he can still just cast it. But I think he just chose to cast it using Chandra's ability.
So missing out on a couple points of burn here.
That could be very relevant here. We'll see what ends up happening. The players might be discussing this very fact right now.
Yeah, it does look, since the game has been paused, it looks like the players are considering this. Though, it looks like Corey is ticking down his vision. All right, so yes, so Corey is still at 4, and 2 points of damage have been left here on the table.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter, because Corey now didn't draw a removal spell. He gets attacked by Eternal Scourge. Chandra pluses again, and that'll be lethal.
And Corey only has a Spell Snare. Scrying Sheets finds that land, and oh man, it looks like Kevin's drawn another Stormbreath Dragon? Yes, he did. Wow. And here they both come, and we're going to go on to a game 2.
Wow.
Kevin Mackie up a game here with Scred Red.
This is something else.
This is something else. I have never, yes. Wow.
We've seen some cool interactions here. The interactions that Kevin's got in his deck are fairly unique. No other deck in the format is using Eternal Scourge, for example. And it seems like there's a lot of cool stuff going on here. So Corey now down a game. It's going to be interesting to see if he's going to be able to rally and come back against a deck he surely has not practiced a ton against.
So I was talking to, as I mentioned, Kevin's friend a little bit earlier, and the Eternal Scourge inclusion is actually pretty neat. He was talking about a game that Kevin had earlier in the tournament where his opponent was attacking him with Platinum Empyrean every single turn. And so what he kept doing was just getting Eternal Scourge, blocking, it dies, exile it with Relic of Progenitus, buy it back, play it again, block again. And he did that for a ton of turns until he was actually able to find some answer to the Platinum Empyrean. So a lot of neat interactions here. Now the players are moving on post-board, though. So, Luis, walk us through what you think Kevin is interested in bringing here.
What Kevin's interested in doing is using Ricochet Trap on Ancestral Vision.
Yes.
Because if a blue spell is cast, you can cast Ricochet Trap for 1 red mana, and it can change the target of target spell with a single target. Yeah. That includes Ancestral Vision. So, that's, I mean, let's be honest, that's all we're hoping to see, is Ricochet Trap on Ancestral Vision.
Yeah, is Ricochet Trap good against Ancestral Vision? You decide. Other than that, which is obviously would be amazing for Kevin, what else could he look to bring here?
It's a little harder for Kevin to sideboard here than it was against Jeskai,
Yeah.
because Kevin wants Ricochet Trap. We saw him bring in Goblin Rabble Master against Jeskai, and then Molten Rain is actually a way to pressure the mana base and destroy basics if you have a Blood Moon in play. On the other hand, Kevin has incentive to leave in Scred. It kills Tasigur, and that could be critical against Corey's decks that can play a very early Tasigur. So despite being able to cut cards like Anger of the Gods and Magma Jet fairly easily, it gets a little trickier past that. Maybe Pyrite Spellbomb, maybe some number of the Lightning Bolts potentially.
How good is Stormbreath Dragon? Is that something that he might consider boarding out?
You know, it's funny. It's one of his premier threats, so I think he's going to keep it in, but it's actually not great against Terminate or Cryptic Command.
Yeah, I was going to say, it just seems awful against most of what Corey's trying to do.
It is, but Kevin has, I think, these burn spells that end up being a little weaker. If Kevin had 2 more good cards to bring in, I could definitely see shaving some Storm Breaths, though shaving Storm Breath sounds like very dangerous activity, so I would not recommend you do that.
Do not try it at home.
Corey, on the other hand, he doesn't have a lot that looks that powerful against Red Red. He's got Engineered Explosives to kill Blood Moon. He's got Damnation maybe to kill Storm Breath, but that seems less effective than the cards he already has in his main deck. So I don't know how deep Corey can even go on sideboarding here.
Well, let me tell you that when Corey was building the sideboard for this deck, he was not considering what slots he had dedicated to Scred Red. So we're going to have to see what Corey ends up doing here. But who do you think this favors post-board?
You know, I think that it gets better for Kevin post-board. He's already up a game. I think that if you're in Corey's seat, you're facing an uphill battle.
I wonder if Scred Red has ever won a GP. Probably not, right? There's no way?
Not as far as I know.
Yeah.
It actually did win California States.
Did it really?
In 2007, I believe. Yes, I know because one of my friends was playing it. I think that was the year. But it's been a while since I've seen Scred Red. And you know, I played the card Scred. I played it at Worlds 2006. We played a red-green snow deck, and it had 4 copies of Scred. So.
What format was it?
This was standard.
Okay.
So the card Scred has seen some success since Modern had been created. I haven't seen Scred Red perform at this level, but I have faced it in Grand Prix before. I played it at Grand Prix Richmond. I played against it at a different Modern Grand Prix. I played it as well.
Yeah,
so.
Did you see down there? It looks like we're not the only people who are rooting for Ricochet Trap Ancestral Vision.
Oh, my guess is everyone's rooting for a Ricochet Trap on Ancestral Vision except probably Corey.
Yes.
And even he might admit it's cool, though probably not in the moment.
Definitely not. Specifically not in the finals here at GP Dallas. So our players are shuffling up. Kevin here is up a game against Corey Burkhart, and let's see if I enjoyed the pun a little bit ago. Kevin is going for extra credit.
Yes.
All right, and now that the players they have access to each other's deck lists, do you think that changes the way they approach the matchup?
I think it helps both players a good amount because neither of them is playing a very well-known deck.
Sure.
Like, both players are aware of these other decks' existences, but knowing exactly which counters Corey has, knowing what threats Kevin has, these are both useful to the other player.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like Grixis Control is a pretty well-known deck, but the fact that Corey is playing a version that has a lot more spot removal and less counters, that is definitely useful for Kevin to know.
Yeah, and knowing Corey doesn't have Mana Leak or Remand, for example, is very relevant.
All right, so it looks like both players have kept their 7, and we're underway here. Game 2 of the finals at GP Dallas. Corey kicking things off with an island and a Serum Visions. Let's see what he wants to do. Top. All right.
Yeah, I think Corey's going to be suspending an Ancestral Vision on turn 2.
So Mountain and Relic of Progenitus for Kevin.
One way to prevent a quick Tasigur is Relic of Progenitus. So Kevin playing one on turn 1 is going to make it a lot more difficult for Corey to deploy one of his better threats.
How important is it for Corey to hit a quick Tasigur?
It helps a lot because Kevin, you know, we've seen him win some fairly long games against control decks. He's got a lot of resilient threats. He's got a lot of cards that can kill control by themselves. And a quick Tasigur could definitely pressure Kevin and make that a little more difficult.
But here it looks like Corey can continue putting cards into his graveyard and fueling that upcoming Tasigur Thought Scour. Milling a couple more lands for him. It's like Kevin just playing a land and passing the turn.
If Corey can find a black land, he can actually cast Tasigur here. So unless Kevin sacrifices the relic.
Oh, he found a Steam Vents on top, and there's a Creeping Tarpet, which would have come into play tapped. Looks like he's leaving one on top and one on the bottom. Yeah, and it does not look like he has any black mana in hand, just that Steam Vents and that Mountain.
And one thing to be aware of here is that Kevin has incentive to keep Relic in play because of Snapcaster Mage, but by sacrificing it, he does mitigate the threat of Tasigur greatly.
It looks like that is exactly what he's going to do, especially seeing that Corey does not have that black mana. Going here on 3, and Goblin Rabble Master. All right, so he was going to combat, but before combat, it gets bolted. Kevin does not get to keep a Goblin from that exchange. One counter off of this Ancestral Vision, and then we're going to see a draw. It's the Creeping Tarpon, so that's what he chose to keep on top.
Yeah, and he's going to want a Thought Scour first in order to try to find an untapped black source, but it is safer to keep a Creeping Tarpon there.
So he found another Thought Scour. Looks like
Might as well spin the wheel again.
Spin the wheel. Another Snapcaster and a Blood Crypt. That would have been an untapped black source. A Counter Squall, so no black source yet for Corey. Playing the untapped rather. Playing the Creeping Tarpon, and we're going to see a pass back to Kevin.
Kevin's going to get to resolve a Planeswalker here if he so chooses, and that is going to put Corey under some pretty real pressure.
All right, so Koth coming down for Kevin. Corey can't do anything about this. And this is what you were talking about. Koth is a really good way to pressure here an opponent like Corey. A Mountain coming in, knocking Corey down 4. We're going to see a pass back. Ancestral Vision going down 2-1. Oh, it's a Terminate.
So Corey's gated on black mana here. He's got 4 black spells in hand, only 1 black source. So he's not going to have an efficient turn no matter what he does. If he plays a Tasigur, it does allow Corey to block the Mountain from Koth and threaten to attack Koth next turn. The downside of that is if Kevin has a 5th land, Skred can finish off a Tasigur. So it's going to be difficult for Corey to decide what to do here, but because he can't pressure Koth any other way, I could definitely see him leaning towards wanting to play Tasigur. On the other hand, Kolaghan's command, dealing 2 to Kevin, knocking 2 loyalty off Koth, drops it to 2. Kevin pluses it to 3, and then next turn, Corey can play Snapcaster Mage. So that would be his other option.
All right, so we'll see what Corey ends up doing, but he's going to kick things off here by exiling a number of cards here to cast this Tasigur.
And this is the perfect turn for Corey to have a Cryptic Command. If he had a Cryptic Command, I would say that he was in great shape here. And he's representing it by delving fully in order to keep 4 mana up, which also lets him activate Tasigur. But I think being able to have Cryptic would have been awesome. And Kevin has to respect that. But Kevin has multiple Skreds that only cost 1 mana each, so I think he's just going to go for it. Kevin could just run away with this game.
Yeah, it certainly looks like that's starting to happen. All right, so Skred.
Skred's going to prompt Corey to activate Tasigur. He's got nothing else to do with his mana. That means Kevin gets to resolve a Blood Moon.
All right, so Kevin deciding to give Ancestral Vision, the slowest of those cards, back to Corey. Tasigur is down. Now with Corey tapped out, Koth ticking up, targeting that tapped Mountain. Getting in for another 4. This drops Corey down to 10. And here's Kevin's opportunity to resolve a Blood Moon.
So Corey's going to draw 3 off the Vision, but Corey has 1 island and 4 mountains in play now. Corey can't cast anything, and he's going to die to Koth Emblem. Kevin can Emblem Koth.
Are we going to see the finals come down to Koth Emblem?
I sure hope so.
All right, Corey, so what can you do this turn? There you see Koth. You get an emblem with mountains you control, half tap. This deals 1 damage to target creature or player.
And Corey has no way to remove the emblem and no way to stop those 5 mountains from putting him on a 2-turn clock. I think we might have a champion. I think the champion might be Skred Red. Corey literally can't cast a single spell in his hand. All he can do is suspend an Ancestral Vision.
I can't believe this moment. Look at how many cards Corey has in hand.
I see 0, actually, when I look at that.
Cool.
And that's unfortunate for Corey, but Blood Moon just has that effect on games.
Yep. I mean, this is exactly as you predicted, Blood Moon being just the quickest way for Kevin to actually close out a game like this.
Did we bring a Koth Emblem?
We just saw a Koth Emblem. And here's another mountain. He's passing back to Corey. Counter off of Ancestral Vision. saying, you can do anything you want here, Corey. Kevin is ready to top down. Oh my gosh, and there's a handshake. Corey hands over the trophy to Kevin Mackie.